Here we're asked to solve this system, and this one becomes a little bit challenging because our variables are in the exponent. And so what we're going to do, there's a couple ways to do it. We could technically change the bases to be the same and then use logs to get the exponents out. But before we deal with that, I'm actually going to kind of follow along with what the homework help does on this one, because it's a good thought process to go through to kind of see a different method of solving a system. So I am going to change this one here into a base of 2 because I know 4 is the same thing as 2 squared, and 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. And okay, here's the tricky part on this first step is that I know power of a power rule, I can multiply these two things together, which means that with multiplication, the order doesn't matter. And so I can change this to 2x to the power of 2, and I can change this to 2y to the power of 2. It's a little bit tricky of a thought process to go through. But basically now what I can see is that I have 2x in both of my equations and I have 2y in both of my equations, which will be helpful. Again, the method that they use here is they use then kind of an idea like U substitution, where they call a equals 2 to the power of x and b equals 2 to the power of y. And so I'm just going to rewrite my system here with that in mind. And so I have a plus b equals 12. And then I'm rewriting this version of it where it's a squared plus b squared equals 48. And so now I'm dealing with a system that's much more manageable, or something that looks much more familiar to deal with. So my next step here is I'm going to go ahead and solve for a. So I'm going to subtract b from both sides. A equals 12 minus b. I'm going to plug that into here. So I get 12 minus b squared plus b squared equals 48. So now I'm going to go ahead and expand this. So I get 12 times 12 is 144, 24b plus b squared. I feel like I made a mistake somewhere. Oh. I apologize. I rewrote this part wrong. It's minus b squared because this is minus here, so that's my fault. I made a slight error, which would have affected our final answer here. So b squared equals 48. Now I am going to positive b squared and negative b squared becomes 0. I'm going to get b on its own side and then solve for b. So I'm going to subtract these two here, 144. And then I get negative 24b equals, what is that, negative 96. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 24. And that gives me my b value of 4. So b is great, but not necessarily helpful just yet all the way. So I'm going to solve for a by plugging that into this here. So I got a plus 4 equals 12, and a is equal to 8, which is great. I have a and b, but remember back from my original problem, a and b are equal to these things here. So I'm going to take, my a value and my b value and plug it into this situation here. So 8 equals 2x, and then 4 equals 2y. So now I need to solve these two, which I know 2 to the power of 3 is 8, and 2 to the power of 2 is 4. So solve my final system, x equals 3 and y equals 2. And I could double check that by plugging them back into here. And we should see that that would give us the same values in both of those. So x equals 3 and y equals 2.